There are two big bills that are making their way through the South Carolina State House. First, a bill to outlaw AI generated child porn, also, the administration's subpoena bill. And here to take a deeper dive on both of these bills, I want to welcome in Attorney General Alan Wilson out of South Carolina. AG Wilson, thank you so much for being on with us. These are some heavy topics, heavy bills to discuss. I first want to talk about the AI generated porn bill, and that is the Senate 28. I understand that it made its way through the Senate. Now it's in the House. Explain for people what we're talking about.
Well, what I like to tell people is if you think about AI as a technology, it is this brand new or relatively new technology that people are starting to talk about over the last couple of years. AI is to us today in 2025 what the internet was in 1995.
Right.
It's this brand new innovative technology that's going to change the world in ways we can't even imagine. It's going to make the world so much easier. But with the good comes the bad, just like with the internet. And so what we're seeing is AI has made us a more efficient world. It has made us a more creative world. It's making things easier. But some of the things that come with it are the ability to exploit children. About a year and a half ago, I led a 54-state letter with states all across the political spectrum, all across this country, to the U.S. Congress, asking Congress to look at our current child sex abuse laws at the federal level. And I'm also doing the same thing at the state level. And AGs from all over the land agreed that we needed to address the basically the new AI platforms or the AI technologies and how they can be used. Let me give you an example. You can take it, everyone knows that it is wrong and bad to take sexually exploitive photos or videos of minor children.
Right.
But what if someone were to use an AI platform to take a photo of a child, say at a church picnic on Facebook, and use that child's image to, replicate it and have show that child engaging in some inappropriate conduct? Or what if someone were to create a child out of completely thin air by taking thousands of composites of children, morphing them together, and then creating a child that doesn't even exist, and then having that child or fake child engage in sexually graphic content, and then using that to feed the child porn industry out there on the internet? We think that our laws, like they did in the 90s with the internet, need to evolve to address the issues that are going to be presented to us with AI. And so that's what this is about. And that's what we're trying to do here in South Carolina. And that's what we tried to do or working on with Congress right now.
So, with this, my concern is, are the laws not caught up with where we are with technology? Because when you talk about AI and somebody then say they get arrested and they say, well, this isn't a real child. How is it that this bill is going to really prosecute and put people in jail for doing such disturbing things?
It basically changes the law to actually cover the gaps. In other words, if you create a child out of thin air, or you take a child and you fabricate that child's image into doing something that child wasn't doing, you may not be looking at an identifiable child. And depending on how the law is written, you may have a situation in which the law doesn't cover a artificially intelligent generated graphic portrayal of that child. So the laws, again, the laws are designed to go after people exploiting real children, but these are people creating children for the purposes of feeding an exploitive industry. And so we want the laws to reflect the fact that AI is now here, and that you can create children that might not be actually identifiable or real in existence, and make sure that there aren't loopholes that some industrious defendants could slip off the hook if they were engaging in this type of conduct. We want to go not only after the demand side, but the supply side of the child porn industry. Obviously, catching people who are going and downloading this content is on the demand side, but the supply side are those people who are generating the content. And they may try to, depending on the state they're in, and here in South Carolina, we're trying to close that loophole, that we want to make sure that if you create a demand or a supply of content, even if it's not of a real child, but it looks like a real child, that we can still get you for feeding the industry.
I know that you're very passionate about this. I mean, I feel like we're hearing more, and from a parent's perspective, I'm a mom of two. Um, it is very disturbing when you hear about the sex trafficking and porn and AI and all these images, that are happening and that are forming. This bill in particular, when you read it, I have it right here. What is the holdup? I see that there's a lot of revisions just so people can understand.
Yeah.
Is there wording that needs to be, more exact, or from your office perspective, what would you say that this bill needs?
I'm not aware of any opposition to the bill at this point.
Okay.
It came out of the Senate pretty overwhelmingly, and it was
Right. I think it was
bipartisan in its
unanimous.
support. Yes, it was unanimous, and it came over to the House, but it's just the House calendar is so jammed full of so many bills they're trying to get to, and we only have a handful of days left in the session before we run out. And so we really want the legislature to get to this, to get it passed this year, because the faster this bill, as well as the administrative subpoena bill, is passed, the faster we get these bills out, the easier it will be for us to go after child predators.
Right. And you mentioned the subpoena bill. So
Yes.
explain to me, why is your office like, what's the message that you're trying to be able to get out for people to really understand why, number one, this needs to be handled in this cycle?
The administrative subpoena bill will make it easier for the state of South Carolina, namely my office, to go more efficiently after child predators. It
Mhm.
streamlines the process. Right now, bad guy is on the internet, going to child porn websites, looking at child sex abuse material or trading it. And then there's a cyber tip that comes to our office, and we have what's called an IP address. It's just a series of numbers,
Mhm.
and we don't know who that IP address belongs to. The only way for us to know who that IP address belongs to is to go to the internet service provider and have the internet service provider say, hey, that's John Doe at
Right.
123 Elm Street, right? Well, in order for us to get that, I have to go to the United States Attorney's Office and have them process the subpoena and the paperwork to get it. This would allow the Attorney General at the state level to do that and cut out the feds altogether, and allows us to streamline it to go and get the information so that we can then execute a warrant for the computer and the information.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, it kind of seems really like it's a no-brainer. So,
It is.
from your perspective, I mean, is what are we missing? Like, what would be the holdup? Is it just the calendar that's going on in the State House?
Again, I'm not aware of anyone opposing it. I think it's just getting to it, and we don't want people, we don't want it to fall through the cracks. We want to keep it top of mind for our legislative partners over in the legislative branch of government. And like I said, the General Assembly has been very supportive generally of the things that I've asked them to do when it comes to protecting children. But sometimes it takes longer to get these bills passed just because of the numerous other bills that are on the docket to on the calendar to be voted on.
Right.
So we're trying to push this bill, get it done before the end of session so that we can get to work in protecting South Carolina's children.
And AG Wilson, just because I know your history, I mean, just from way back, even when you're just starting off, this has been very passionate for you in terms of going after sex traffickers and child predators. Just so from people can understand, why is this such a priority for you in your office?
Well, I mean, like I said, over the last 14 years that I've been the Attorney General, I mean, we have seen sex trafficking and child exploitation kind of boom because of the advent of technology. As I said, technology has expanded, the social media world has expanded, the internet has expanded, the platforms, the ability to bring the World Wide Web into your pocket, into
Right.
your home. And of course, the bad guys have evolved with the evolution of that technology, and so they're being more aggressive. And by the time we find out where they're going to find kids, they've moved to another place. So we're always in the process of trying to catch up to the bad guys. And I just don't ever want to become complacent. As a father of two teenagers, and you said yourself, you're a mama bear. I take this stuff personally. This stuff scares me, and I just want parents to keep this top of mind. You wouldn't let your children go around the world by themselves, but frequently we let our children go around the World Wide Web by themselves, whether it's on a gaming platform, a cell phone platform, a computer platform, whatever social media app it is. These bad guys can get to our kids even when they're under our own roofs.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, when you look at it, as I was reading both these bills, I was very surprised. It almost seems like the criminals, as you said, are getting smarter. What can parents do so that way they feel like, you know what, I have to keep an eye if somebody's taking pictures of my child? I mean, I don't know if you have any advice for people or parents out there.
Well, I mean, first off, parents need to be aware of what their children are doing. Just like I said a minute ago, you wouldn't let your child go around the world by themselves, yet parents are quite content at times because they're busy, they're tired from getting home from work. They'll let Junior get up in their bedroom and be on their phone or their laptop or their Xbox or whatever, and they'll be there for hours and hours on end, and parents are just not aware. So I think you have to re-engage. You can't take the parent out of parenting. You got to go in there and know what your children are doing, and obviously be educated on the platforms that they're using and inspect what you expect.
Right.
In our house, if I say hand the phone over, I'm paying the bill on it. I want to see what you're doing. And so we know what our children are doing, and I encourage parents to know what their children are doing, because you are the last line of defense to protecting your child. You can't put a police officer in every bedroom in the state. So parents have to help us out, and also just being aware that that's half the battle right there, being educated on what your children are doing.
Last question I have for you is in regards to the Senate 28 bill, looking at AI and everything that's going on with children and just kind of the disgusting and disturbing images that we're seeing. What's next? I mean, we know that it's in the House. Once it then gets passed into law, what does that mean for your office?
It means our office has an additional tool that will make it easier for us to go after child predators online and protect your children. We get this thing passed, it will help us immensely. The backlog of the cases we have and how cumbersome it is administratively is the reason we're pushing for these bills, to this legislation to address the gaps and the loopholes in the law, as well as give us that subpoena power that we so desperately need. This will make it easier for us to protect your children. That's the takeaway from this.
Well, we just appreciate you giving us your time. I think this is just so important. Is there anything else that you want to be able to add in that I missed? I think for so many parents out there, I think they hear about child predators, they hear about AI generated porn, and a lot of people kind of feel like, oh, well, that's never going to happen to me.
I was in a meeting last month with the FBI, and they briefed us on the 764 movement. That's that gory self-mutilation movement that people are engaging in
Right.
online. And every time when I think I've seen it all and I know everything that's out there, I hear something new and disturbing as it has evolved with the advent of technology, and it never ends. The bad guys are always going to evolve. The bad guys are always going to be innovative. The bad guys are always going to be persistent. That means the good guys, we need to be innovative and persistent, and we need to evolve as well. And we can't sit on our hands and expect that we've arrived and we've got all the tools that we need. That's why we have to stay on top of this.
Well, we appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on Queen City News Plus, and we just appreciate you giving us just the words for parents to be on alert as to what to watch out for. And I look forward to talking to you on the next big issues coming through your office. I appreciate it.